What's up everybody, my name is Danon and welcome to Ahnestly. Today we're taking a look at the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Is it as good as all the reviewers say it is? We'll find out. Let's get honest. The 16-inch MacBook Pro is a great laptop. I have no doubt in my mind that it'll go down in history as one of Apple's best laptops ever. But then I watch these reviews and they're all like, oh my god, thank you so much Apple for making this amazing machine. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, are we all going through this weird kind of Stockholm syndrome thing? I know I sound really weird and sound kind of crazy, but hear me out for a second. Like, this is a great laptop, but at the same time, we have to realize that Apple, who gave us this great machine, they're also the people who took away this machine from us for the past 4 years, from 2015 to 2019, because they basically released and kept releasing non-functional laptops due to those butterfly switches, and they even acknowledged how big the problem was by releasing a program that would replace your non-functional butterfly switches with more non-functional butterfly switches, right? And I think as a consumer, as all of us, as we're paying thousands of dollars for these machines, we shouldn't be thankful to Apple for fixing the problem. Instead, we should be saying like, don't pull this shit again, because this is expensive and we really like Apple products, and Apple, you guys should be better. I mean, you guys, the reason why people love you is because you were better, right? And so because of that, my posture is great laptop Apple, but don't do this shit again. Anyways, rant over. Let's go ahead and take a deep dive into this device. The 16-inch MacBook Pro is replacing the 15-inch line, and even though it's a 16-inch laptop, it's just a smidge taller, wider, deeper. And part of the reason for that increase is not only the screen, but also the battery, which is a massive 100 watt-hour battery, which is personally the largest battery I've ever seen on a laptop and is the maximum legal limit you can carry onto a plane. And in my use of this thing, in casual use, about 50% brightness, I'm getting about 10 hours. So absolutely incredible battery life for what this is, and yet at the same time, even though it's a smidge bigger, it doesn't feel like it. I mean, compared to my Razer Blade 15, it's still lighter and it feels a little bit smaller just because of how thin it is. So it's a fantastic design. As for ports, this thing has 4 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports, 2 on each side, and while I'm not into the whole dongle life, what I do think is really cool is that you can charge this laptop on any of the 4 ports. And for me personally, that's actually really useful because there have been more than one occasion where I'm at like a coffee shop and the outlet is on my right side, but the charging port is on the left side. So I have to like contort my body because the laptop has to turn like this and I've gotta work like this because the cable isn't long enough. So it's a really cool design choice. But this is also where a yellow flag comes into play, because if you look over at Fstoppers' video, they created a video about the 16-inch MacBook Pro and all the troubles they were having finding good dongles. Now, I understand that they're not the most technical folks out there and they do get some things wrong, but when it comes to unreliable dongles, I actually understand what they're talking about, because when I owned my iPhone 10, I would use a dongle that had 3.5mm jack and the lightning charging cable, the 2-in-1 plugged into my iPhone, and it would just cut out and it was just super unreliable. So I understand a little bit of the frustration that dongles can cause with their unreliability, their disconnecting, and also to further that argument and just to provide further evidence is that if you actually looked at the reviews on Apple sites for their dongles, they actually got terrible reviews. And then suspiciously, after Fstoppers made that video, they pulled down all of their reviews from their website, all user reviews. So you can't see, the experience that people were having or whether or not those dongles were good or not. And it's just a little bit shady on Apple's part. You might even say slim shady. When you open the laptop, the first thing you notice is that big, beautiful screen. It has fairly small bezels, and it is a glossy screen, which I personally prefer because I think it makes colors a little bit more vibrant, but it is bright and it is color accurate, so great for outdoor use and also great for content creators. This screen covers 97% of the DCI P3 color gamut, 100% of the sRGB, and 91% of the Adobe RGB, and is pretty darn bright at 500 nits. The only issue I noticed with the screen is that when you watch videos on YouTube or something, because of the weird resolution of 3072 by 1920, it creates these black bars, and so basically those extra inches of screen space are wasted. One word when it comes to the speakers. Holy crap. I mean, I watched reviewers say the speakers are amazing, and I was like, the Razer Blade 15 has pretty good speakers. How much better could it be? It's that much better. You guys just have to get in front of one and listen. I mean, it is just incredible. Here's a quick sound test at different sound levels.
When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down the ride. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down the ride, you weren't down the ride. Caught switching, you should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge.
The other thing that I've seen reviewers mention is how good the mic is, which for me personally isn't a big deal, but for the sake of the review, here's what the mic sounds like completely unedited. This is what the mic sounds like on the MacBook Pro 16. By the way, if you guys like what you see today, please like and subscribe as that helps this channel so much. Thank you guys for all your support. So they finally got rid of the butterfly key switches and put in this new keyboard, and I know some people have said, oh, it's just their old keyboard back in here. I don't think that's true. It's a little bit quieter, there's a little less travel, and I think that because I remember the 2015 laptops, if you closed it and your laptop was dusty, it would leave like a key imprint in the screen. I haven't seen that with this so far, but the keyboard is very nice. A couple other changes they made was that they brought back the physical escape key on the top left, and then they turned that fingerprint or finger scanning thing, they turned into a physical power button on the right side. So it's a power button and a fingerprint scanner, and that fingerprint scanner integrates really nicely with the operating system. While the keyboard is great, typing on it can feel a little bit awkward or can be a bit of an adjustment because the trackpad is so huge. It's probably twice the size of most trackpads that you've seen on any laptop. And because it's so big, I don't know about you, but when I type, I try to avoid resting my palm on the trackpad because for Windows, while palm rejection is pretty good, it's not perfect. So I'm like trying to avoid it. It makes my hands flesh out weird, but actually when I try different things with my palm on this trackpad, palm rejection was near perfect, and it's really nice. You can put your hands anywhere. So if you are coming from a different device where the trackpad was smaller and you type like me, it's more of an adjustment period than anything. It's not uncomfortable at all. One thing that might be uncomfortable is that the edges are very sharp, and then on top of that, the keyboard is a little higher up. So for most laptops that I've used where the trackpad and the keyboard are at like reasonable distances, the edge usually rests about here, but with this laptop, it's probably resting about here. And that part of my wrist hasn't been calloused yet because I haven't used laptops that go up that high. So again, another adjustment period thing. It is a little sharp, might get uncomfortable after a long typing session. When it comes to the internals, one of the things I was surprised by is how closely Apple is starting to align with base level high-end Windows gaming machines. So this thing has a i7 9750H processor, which again is the same level of processor you'll find in most high-end Windows gaming laptops. And it's got 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of NVMe SSD. Where you do see deviation though is in the discrete GPU. So this is the base model MacBook Pro, but I upgraded to the 5500M because I wanted the price point to be the exact same of my Razer Blade 15 Advanced with the RTX 2080. So while this has a 5500M, my laptop, the Razer Blade Advanced, has a RTX 2080, and when it comes to GPU performance, that Razer Blade is gonna run circles around this thing, but compared to Apple's previous 2018 15-inch, the 5500M beats out the highest level GPU that came in the highest, the most decked out 15-inch MacBook Pro of last year, which is, again, relatively speaking, fairly impressive of Apple. Objectively speaking, still can't hold a candle to some of the GPUs that come in Windows machines. The other place where you see the MacBook Pro deviate from high-end Windows gaming laptops is that the hard drive and the RAM on the MacBook Pro are soldered on, meaning you can't switch it out, you can't increase if you want more, you get what you get and you're kind of screwed. And it's not such a big deal for hard drives anymore because there are always external hard drives and you can use cloud storage, but for RAM, that really matters because if you want more RAM, it's $400 extra if you want 32 gigs and another $400 if you want 64 gigs. So it's not cheap versus on a Windows laptop, all it costs is about some time and $150 to upgrade from 16 to 32 gigs. So the MacBook Pro 16-inch is not a cheap laptop by any means. It starts at $2,400 US and then can climb upwards of over $3,000. So not cheap, but what you get for it, and I forgot how good Apple was at this, is just a quiet, reliable machine that can put out a good amount of power when you need it to. And the difference between this and let's say a Windows machine is that with my Windows device, although I love it and I'm not gonna switch over, is that you get this thing that is just quiet, gives you reliable 10 hours of battery life, and when you need the extra GPU juice, it'll kick in. Versus my Windows laptop, it's kind of constantly ramping up and down. The fans are spinning up and spinning down, running random updates, and then on top of that, like, I have to do all this configuration to squeeze a little bit of extra battery out of it. It can't hold a candle to the 10-hour battery life. So it's got all those benefits working for it, but is this laptop worth the purchase? Well, I do really think it's one of the best laptops Apple has ever made, and so if you are in the Apple ecosystem, if you are looking to find an Apple device finally after escaping MacBook Pro hell, I think this is a good pickup, I think this is a good buy. But again, please don't get on your knees and thank Apple for making this device. We should demand more from Apple, and Apple, again, this is a good start, but don't pull it again. So what do you guys think of my whole Stockholm Syndrome theory? What do you guys think about the 16-inch MacBook Pro? Did you guys leave Apple because of that whole symptom? Or maybe, do you plan to come back to Apple because of this nice machine? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, guys, stay honest.